Howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. Today, you'll see I'm wearing the microphone instead of putting it at the end of my pretty pink ruler. And so I want to see how it sounds, if it helps. You know, you're still going to hear that air conditioner. It's been 100 degrees outside today, so that air conditioner is not getting shut off. I've managed to get the temperature here in the office down to 75, and it's about 11 o'clock at night, so and it's probably still 90 odd degrees outside. Welcome to South Texas, right? Anyway, got a real, well, it's not the quickest of videos, but it's a entertaining and informative one, and it's about some new surveillance camera I have gotten in, and what we did with that and how we got it set up. So without me chattering on here, let's get right into the video. So here we go. We have a Reolink camera from Reolink.com, and this is an outdoor camera I've got, one of 3 or 4 I'm going to end up putting around my house for surveillance. We've had some crime occur in the area in the last few months, and so we want to make sure. We've had some neighbors have had some things go missing off their property, so I want to make sure that one, that I've got a little bit better surveillance outside the house, because, you know, I'm such a huge YouTube star now. You know, you have to take care of yourself. But mainly, you know, out here in the country, it's dark at night. I want to catch these folks, and these cameras are supposedly very good with infrared night vision. So I'm going to put I'm going to start with this camera and see how I like it. I almost pulled the trigger on the Amcrest camera. And I remember when Amcrest was selling Foscam cameras, and those Foscam cameras, I have 2 of those, and they are notoriously known for going out to the internet and sending data back to China. And I showed you in a previous video how to block those cameras from getting out to the internet. You just deny them a gateway, you know, list your gateway 0.0 or some fake gateway, and let them try to bang on a gateway that doesn't exist. It's the best way to secure them and keep them from going out on the internet. Now, supposedly, the Amcrest cameras have the same problem. Now, this is just what is written on Amazon and other forums, and people just have not been very kind to their outdoor camera. This one was better rated, and it was $10 or $15 less than the Amcrest. And you know me, I'm the king of cheap. So here's the label on the side of the camera. It's a 4 megapixel PoE fixed bullet. It's the RLC-410. It's 4 megapixels, 2560 by 1440. It's a fixed 4.0 millimeter lens. It says it'll get 100 feet of camera night vision. It's power over Ethernet, ease of connection, scan QR code to add device, whatever. We won't be doing that today. We're going to hook it up to our network and see if we can force it to get an IP address on our network, and then we're going to attempt to add it to our Blue Iris surveillance software. So let's get this camera out of the box before my battery completely dies. Alright, so the ever-present instructions sheet. It comes with a template to mount the bullet camera, and an instruction manual, I assume. And then it comes with a Ethernet cable, not a very long one. It looks like maybe 3 foot, maybe 5 foot. And then here's the cover, the waterproof cover for the Ethernet cable that you run. And you should run outdoor grade Ethernet cable, but mine is not leaving the house, and I'm currently having the house painted, so what I'm going to do is just run standard Ethernet cable, and then we'll paint over the Ethernet cable to give it another layer of, I mean, latex paint is basically liquid plastic, so it'll help seal that off from the wind and the sun and the rain, and it's up under the eaves of the house, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. And then we have the camera itself, so you got the reset button here for the camera. I believe that's what that is. Then you have a jack to put PoE into to inject PoE, and then you have your standard Ethernet plug here. So you can either use a PoE cable, or you can use a you can run a long power cable from your transformer, or a short cable be the Be that as it may, to inject power into that camera. I'm just using my little push around cart as a little place to unbox these things. It's got some weight to it. It's not real heavy. And there you go. It's got adjustments here and here, so you can turn it sideways. I can't right now. It's on there too tight. They even include, nice little touch, they include the Allen wrench to adjust it, and even some mollies. We call those mollies here in the States, to insert into the wall to hold the screw. But it's going to be going into wood, so I'm actually going to use wood screws, and I'm not going to use screws that are that long. Those are too long. But there's the camera facing you. So it's got quite a few LEDs on there, so it should have really good night vision. It's got the light sensor is there. The label down below, and then the mounting pad, and then of course we already covered the cable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this into PoE and see if we can't get it to turn on. I don't see any power indicators on the device, you know, to indicate it's plugged into power, but we'll just see how lucky we get. I have a cable over here. It's already hooked up to my PoE switch. So we're just going to plug it in and see if we might get lucky. Yeah, no indication it's working. This one looks like it may have been out of the box before. I don't know if you can see that scratch there or not, but it looks like it may have been out of the box before. So the camera is powered, so I guess what I'll do next is go onto my network and see if I can't see it on my network and start getting it configured. We'll just put it over here for the time being, just so it's got a stable area to sit on. So you see the paint on the house is progressing, and my nephew was out today doing more painting and helping me get everything taken care of in the house, and we managed to get the outdoor camera temporarily set up. We still need to tidy up the wires, but we got it facing the driveway, the front of the house, and it covers the door. It's a really good quality camera. I'm really happy with it so far. We'll see how it does this evening. At night, I'll try to get some footage of that. But the wire comes down. We'll pretty that up. We'll get some wire ties on there, pretty it up, and paint over it. Same color as the house paint. That's not outdoor wire, but once you paint it with latex paint, it's liquid plastic basically, so that'll be protected from the elements. So, and it snakes down under the house, and we're going to be working on cleaning up these wires this summer as well. But I just wanted you to see that we are progressing with the paint. He's actually got the whole back of the house painted now. And there's the camera pointing to the front. With the help of my nephew Jerry, he came over, did some more house painting. I showed you some of the footage of that, or I will show you some of the footage of that. And there's been an addition made to the rack. I have decided, to get some outdoor cameras. I showed you those a minute ago. I've got one installed now. I showed you where we installed that. And this is what is powering all that. The Unify switch I have is a 24 port, but it's not a PoE switch. It's just a standard gigabit switch, but it's ubiquity. It's wonderful. Get one if you can afford them. They're actually very affordable for what you get. But I didn't get one with PoE. I don't like a big power supply in my switch. I don't like my switches getting that hot, and I don't want to put that kind of amperage through them. So I either get single purpose PoE injectors, but that can become cumbersome if you have a lot of cameras or a lot of VoIP phones. It can become a pain in the butt. So Sasha Lopez from the UK donated this tough switch to the channel a few months ago, and I decided to put it to good use. So I put it in addition to my regular Unify switch. This switch will be dedicated only to powering my outdoor PoE cameras and my indoor PoE cameras and my PoE phones. I have enough cables run to the other side of the house. You see this bundle has never been terminated. There's a total of about 7 or 8 runs in there that go to the other side of the house. So I can easily give each phone its own PoE and camera its PoE, its own dedicated line, and have that be a power over Ethernet. It's another reason why I still haven't cleaned up all the cables on the rack, because I am running new cables as time goes on, and I want to get all of them installed before I tidy everything up. But that's a good use for the switch. So I have this port, which is the management port, which only runs at 10100. Now this is also the uplink port, and it goes to port 6 on my Unify switch. But that limits this switch to 10100 networking, which is fine. I only have security cameras on there and VoIP phones. They don't need more than 100 megabit bandwidth. If I do need more than 100 megabit bandwidth, I'll take port 8 and I'll just jump it over to port 8 on my switch here, and then use it as the uplink if I need gigabit speed on this switch, because it is capable of doing gigabit. And I was very careful to make sure that I set the voltage correctly before plugging in the PoE camera. I looked it up. And then what we've done is we take the PoE to port 6 on this patch panel, and then my nephew and I ran this cable today. It goes down the wall and out the hole, where you can see a bug crawling right now as we speak. So we have plenty of runs in the future if we need them, so that's what we use them for. But just wanted to show you I put that switch to good use. And I am using my USG currently. I was having an issue with my lab, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't the PFSense box causing the issue. So I hooked my USG up, and it also serves as my backup route onto the internet. So that's another reason I use it. So, but I will switch back over to PFSense once I get through this issue with my lab that I'm doing some videos on. So this is the camera I got. This is the price I paid for it. You see, I purchased it on June the 3rd of 2018, and I paid $59 for it with free Prime shipping. But what I didn't know, I really wanted a pan, tilt, and zoom camera. This is a fine camera, and for the location it's in, it's working fine. But I wanted a PTZ camera. So let me show you what I found. So for the same price, I could have gotten the Reolink IP security camera, 4 megapixel, super high def, audio support, dome, outdoor, indoor, infrared night vision, motion detection, RLC-420 for $59. It's basically the same camera, but on a pan, tilt, and zoom module motor. And so I will be ordering one of these next month, and I have another location on the outside of the house that this would be perfect for. And it'll allow me to change my mind on where I want the image to point from day to day, or give me the ability, if I do see some activity in my yard in the middle of the night, I can follow the person or persons and put them square in the sights of my rifle and tell them politely to get off my land before I shoot them. But no, I'm not a violent person, really. I just like to say that because everybody thinks everybody from Texas wears cowboy hats and cowboy boots and is gun happy. Alright, so I've already done this. I've already done the setup on the camera using this application, but I wanted to show you how easy it was. It was intuitive. You know what I mean by intuitive means I can click around in here and figure out how to get into the system. Now, I already created a login account and a password and all that good stuff, so I'm just going to come up here to this little icon. One thing I do have a complaint of is when you hover over these icons, they really don't tell you what they are. So I know this is the login from experience. So here's the view of that cam with night vision mode on. So there's my truck sitting there. This is the side door into the house. I got a light here, and this is our other transportation. Our trash cans are here, and then I can see down my driveway. One thing I forgot to take into account is this light fixture here. It's an LED light. But now that I have the camera in view, and it's got, ooh, look, I got a critter crawling up the side of the house. But now that I've got the camera in here, I can actually turn the light out and not have to run that all the time because I now have this infrared camera. But I digress. So all I had to do is come over here to the little gear icon, and that's got all the settings in there. And then if you come over here to Network General, I went ahead and assigned it a static IP address. Now, I've told you before, the way to keep these cameras from phoning home is to deny them a gateway. Or the other thing I could do is, since my gateway is 5.254, I could put 5.253 in here, or any IP address that's not in use, and it simply would not get an internet connection, but it would still work on the local network. So keep that in mind. However, I have not witnessed, I was having some trouble with the FOSCAM cameras, the other two that I have, phoning out to China. So I took the gateways, I put a fake gateway in there, and that ceased. I have not observed this device phoning home to China or anywhere else for that matter. I'll continue to monitor and report any updates. But so far I haven't had any trouble. But you just come in here and you can enter your static address. Initially it comes set up as DHCP, so you just basically plug it into your network, give it power over Ethernet, run this little Reolink application, and it'll log you in by default to the device. So you just go to the general settings, and that's where you can set the IP address at. And then you come up here, or you can go here to add a user. I've already added one, so now I can come in, I can manage a user. So I created there was already an admin user, and I just created one for Adama. So I could, and with a password on it, and then I'll go out and get rid of this admin account at a later time. You can get information on the camera, the model, the build, configuration version, the firmware version, its IPC number, which is how I believe this software finds that camera. Maintenance, so you can do your updates, you can do a backup. You can put an SD card into this camera, and you can record right to the SD card if you want to. It has motion sensing. See, general settings are the time. So I set mine for Central Time. Let's see, daylight savings time settings, I enable it. Okay, and now it should have the correct time on the camera, which it does. So I'll click OK here. Alright, so it's got the correct time now. It was an hour behind, so that's where you can do that. You can also synchronize it to local time. Let's see, performance, you can reboot it. Online, you can see who's online with the camera, and you can manage your users here. And this is where you would actually add one. You don't add one here at manage, you use the add button. And then up here on the edit icon, that's where you can give it a name. You can choose how you register with this Reolink software, so it uses UID, but you could change that to IP address. That's up to you. And then the username and password you want to use, and then you see the MAC address and the UID number there. Let's see, if you come up to this icon here, the gear icon, you can set up your download path, your capture path, your tour time. You can modify your passwords here, tell it to auto login, add devices automatically. You can run it on startup. I don't use this to record my footage. I use Blue Iris, which we'll cover here in a second. Well, we won't cover Blue Iris, but I'll show you that it is working in Blue Iris. And then if you want to record to a local hard drive, you can do that. You would need to leave this application up and running in order to do that. Or you could record to an SD card if you had one in there. And then basically here are your basic settings. What you want your encoder on. I changed my there goes a car right now. I changed my resolution to 1080p. It was set up really high, 2560 by 1440, but I don't need that kind of resolution. You can set your frames and your maximum, and then on your image you can adjust the brightness, the contrast. Let's see how that works. Yeah, so that kind of works really well. The saturation and the hue. I'm just going to put it back at default. And let's see, then you can go to advanced settings. You can turn your anti-flicker off. You can change your exposure, your white balance, day-night automatic, whether it's backlit, 3D NR, I have no idea what those mean. And then you can set your video clip settings here. So if I just wanted to take a snapshot, I can enable it right there. Let's see, this tells you how much RAM, how much CPU loading you have, and information. So it's very simple, pretty intuitive software interface. It's one of those interfaces you can click around in and you're not going to break anything or not be able to get back to something. So that's how we got the camera set up and got an IP address. Now let's go over to Blue Iris, and you can see it there. So this is Blue Iris. This is the actual monitoring software. This is not the actual Blue Iris software. That is running on my domain controller, but this will give you an idea of the new interface in Blue Iris. And if you haven't checked it out, people ask me why don't I use the Synology surveillance software. One, because I don't like it, and two, because it's very expensive. You get 5 licenses. No, you only get 3 licenses with Synology to start out with, and then you have to buy additional licenses, and they're quite pricey. Whereas I think I paid $50 or $60 for Blue Iris, and there's no limit on the cams I can have. So let me change the view here. Go to the left monitor so you can see. It gives you an average frames per second, disk use, memory usage, CPU usage. I did have to change the default streaming quality to H.264 streaming 1 because the default gave a lesser quality picture quality than I like. And if I right click on any of these images here, I have all these wonderful options, like YouTube has the stats for nerds. So these, you can see my stats for nerds coming through here, my codec and how many kilobits per second it's using, and frame rate and all that framing timing and network delay, player delay, etc. It's just kind of some neat information for you. There's lots of other options under here. You can open a new tab, save it to disk, open an HLS stream, copy the image address, maximize. You can trigger it to start recording, snapshot in Blue Iris, restart the camera, and then properties. So this knows this is the side door camera. It's enabled. This is the video frame rate and video size. Audio, I've got that turned off. Pan, tilt, zoom, no. You can override your settings here, and you can set your motion sensing and your object detection. You'll see I don't have a mask or hotspot I've set. I just have it set for object sensitivity, and then I can tell it what I can trigger a manual recording snapshot or whatever, pause, restart, or disable the camera. So some really neat new features in the new version of Blue Iris. If you have not used Blue Iris software, I did a video on it months and months ago. I'm getting ready to do a new one where I'll go into detail on it. But as you can see, here's my camera. If I click on it, I get that full camera. Now the only problem with this is this camera does not have pan, tilt, or zoom. I thought a pan, tilt, and zoom outdoor camera was out of my price range, but you'll see in a second I was wrong. But anyway, I'm not going to go a lot into Blue Iris because that's not what this video is about. This video is about me installing this new camera, which I have accomplished with the help of my nephew, because I don't get up on ladders anymore, and you should have seen us. We were a pair on that ladder getting this camera installed because I wanted to back him up and make sure he didn't fall. But anyway, I digress. Got the camera installed and running. I highly recommend this camera at this point. I had zero trouble with it. The Amcrest cameras were a pain in the butt to set them up years ago. It was really, you had to go into an application on your phone and scan a QR code just to set an IP address on those Foscam, I should say, not Amcrest. And that was when it put a sour taste in my mouth for Foscam cameras. And as you can see, they have now, the people that sell Blue Iris, which is Amcrest, have quit selling Foscam cameras and have got their own brand of cameras, so whatever that means. But there you go, there's the camera installed. I can view it on my surveillance, along with keeping an eye on the rest of my house. And there you go. So there you go. We hope you found the video entertaining and informative as always. Hopefully it wasn't too rambly, and I hope you don't mind. Those were not cockroaches that were crawling up through my floor. They were water bugs, and they come out in droves when it gets really dry, and they come into your house looking for water. And I wonder, because I saw them in my bathroom the other day, I was like, are these roaches? And I looked them up. No, the roaches don't get that big. Those are water bugs, and they're just looking for water and food. So I fixed the hole temporarily. We have a permanent solution to that hole. But I just haven't implemented it yet because I'm not quite done. But in the meantime, what I did was use the old trick of I don't know if you're familiar with HVAC, that foil tape they put outside to seal the ductwork. If you put that sticky side down, it's really sticky and it sticks. So I cleaned the floor up really well, and I put that silver tape down. It's strong and it's sticky on the bottom, so any insect that comes up or critter gets stuck to the glue. It's not a pretty way to go, but hey, it won't catch mice or anything like that, but they won't chew through it because it's got metal in it, and the little mice don't like that on their teeth. So that's one way to keep critters out of your house. So, and even a small hole like that, that's a lot of cooling that I'm losing, because as you force a warm air out of a building, you create negative pressure, and I was drawing in warm air. So I sealed the hole up really good. We'll get a permanent solution one of these days, but I put it off, and I was just, once I saw that little water bug rear its ugly head out of the floor, I was like, I had to do something about this. So anyway, donate if you're so inclined. We take PayPal and Patreon. Thanks again for joining us. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Ring that notification bell. Give us a like, give us a dislike, and leave your comments in the comment section. I love seeing comments from fellow YouTubers and subscribers. And don't know that we'll have a Saturday live stream because I have a birthday party to attend. So if you're looking forward to that, I'm sorry to disappoint. We might reschedule it and make it at noon on Sunday. But I'll let you know. I'll post on Twitter and on my Facebook page, and I'll let everybody know in advance whether we're going to do that video or not. So thanks again for seeing us, and please don't forget that we will see you on the other side.